Right, so today we're going to speak about ley lines. Okay, so this is such an interesting topic, one of my favorite things, and something I'm really quite passionate about. So, in the 1920s, there was this guy called Alfred Watkins. Okay, so he was a businessman from Herefordshire, and he was out on his horse one day doing his thing. He used to love to ride the land, and he was on top of this hill and basically had this epiphany about like everything he could see right in front of him. So he basically realized that a lot of the sacred like forts and stone circles and churches and wells and all those type of things were kind of connected. So if he took a map and a ruler, he could draw a line between a lot of these things, and this obviously intrigued him, and he basically then started researching this concept and then created a book called The Ley Hunter's Guide. Okay, so and basically he called these things ley lines, and it was like a straight track that would run, and he believed that these were like pathways that the ancients followed for their trade routes, and these were like ancient tracks, right? So it was known as the straight tracks. And the club, the dowsers who then cottoned onto this, was also called the Straight Track Club, and these guys were like dowsing these alleged straight lines then that this guy discovered. Right, then in 1969, along came John Mitchell, and he was really interested in like UFOs and like energy lines, and he was really like starting to investigate what was this Watkins dude on about, and he wrote this book, The View Over Atlantis. Okay, so basically his theory was that he believed that there were energy currents that was running through the earth, and that the ancient used these energy currents and marked like important spots along these straight lines. Okay, so his theory went then from it just being a practical track to something a lot deeper. And it was interesting because he was really into the dowsing community as well. And when people started like looking and investigating, they realized, but there's something to what this guy is saying. It's not just all, like, oh, this is a cool idea. Maybe it's some woo woo. They were actually lines and like electromagnetic currents that was running from like along the straight track. And what he also brought up was he called it the St Michael's line, because he literally discovered a line that was running all the way from Norfolk down to St Michael's Mount in Cornwall, right? So if you know the map of England, I'm actually just going to put a picture up here for you. You will see that this line runs all the way in a straight line, and there's 15 significant spots on this line where these places are either called St Michael something, or there's some connection to St Michael. So he found this really intriguing, and then basically came up with the concept of the St Michael's ley line. Now, we then had the amazing Hamish Miller, who's unfortunately not with us anymore, and Paul Broadhurst, and they basically in the like mid 80s started doing an investigation. I think it was around 87, where they decided they were going to take the information from this guy, and they were going to walk this line, and they were going to douse this entire line and see what's actually happening. So it was really interesting because they started down at St Michael's Mount in Cornwall, and then basically plotted an entire map of all of these amazing places so that they could literally like show us the way through here. And what they also discovered was that this was used as a pilgrim's route, like hundreds and like you're talking thousands of years ago. So we're talking about like the 1100s, 1200s, because they found these manuscripts about miracles being performed at St Michael's Mount, and then people literally like walking this line of energy, this pilgrim's track all the way down there. And this was very much associated with the Christians. But what would happen was the Christians would be walking past all the stone circles and all of these like ancient sites as they were going down to this holy place as well. So these guys trekked their way all the way up the line. Initially, they thought it was like one line of energy, right? So this was the Michael line, energy line, and they tracked it. And then when they got to Avebury, they were like, oh my God, what's happening here? So they literally found another line that was interacting, a much more feminine feeling line, a much softer line, but they called that then the Mary line. Okay, so we have the Michael and the Mary dragon lines. And these guys then literally had to go back and go, okay, we have to go check where the Mary line's running, and then discovered that these beautiful lines of energy literally were crisscrossing at really beautiful spots that were very often marked by a sacred place. Okay, and they were like, this is really interesting. So they mapped it all out for us. And so many dowsers now use this to do their dowsing training to find these energy currents that these guys have mapped out. And it basically shows us this beautiful energy line running in the south of England. Okay, so that's one of the most important ley lines in the world, the really well documented, etc. But we have another one in England that's called the Bolinas line, and that runs all the way from the south, from the Isle of Wight, all the way up through Scotland. Okay, so that is basically, that one also has two energy currents. So you literally have this energy current running along a straight line. The straight line isn't energetically like there. The straight line is basically supported by the other two lines. Okay, so it's literally like it runs down or up in the case of the Bolinas line. The Bolinas line's also got a female side, so Ellen of the Ways. So they named the female one Ellen, and then the male one is named after King Bolinas. So like that energy line again does that all the way up north. And you'll find a lot of beautiful stone circles, Roslyn Chapel, etc. is up on this line as well. So they don't have all the St Michael references, where the southern one does have that. So just one other thing on the southern line is that this line was very much linked to May Day sunrise. So Beltane is what we call it here. And this was named after the Celtic sun god Bel. So basically what would happen is there would be lots of celebrations along the sacred spots on this line. If you can imagine, like people would be lighting like big pyres of fire and stuff on the energy line to infuse the energy back into the world as well, back into the lands and stuff, because they were going to start their planting and they were going to do, you know, they were hoping for their harvest to be good later in August, September and stuff. So this was literally a festival to go, okay, Earth, are you going to support us? Are you going to help us? Please, we're here to honor you. We're going to have this celebration. And then they'd go and do their thing, right? So they'd literally be in the space of like organizing themselves for the harvest, for everything that's growing, for saying thank you as well. Okay, so across the world, we have many other cultures that also have ley lines. They just don't necessarily call them that. But if you go to Peru, for instance, we've got, if you go and have a look at Nazca, for instance, right? That is like a massive site in the desert there, full of lines, full of mounds, etc. And that is also a site of ley lines. Then also places like Cusco is known for the lines that run out of it, Cusco in Peru, the lines that run out of it as well. So there's different energy lines running out of these places. A place like Stonehenge, for instance, has like multiple energy lines coming together and running out of it. So there's all of these electromagnetic energetic lines coming out of these places and running. So there's various ley lines. A lot of it hasn't been documented yet. A lot of it hasn't really been investigated, but there are people working on it and there are people bringing this information forward right now. So if you think about the Aborigines as well, right? So you've all probably heard about the song lines. So they used to navigate with the song lines, and they would literally listen to the song of the earth, and then they would follow those lines. And this is how they migrated across the country. And the country is full of song lines, and different tribes have different song lines and stuff. But these guys would literally be navigating without a map to come across one of the, you know, the most barren places in the world, and they would use the energy of the earth to navigate. And often we hear about, like here in England, about like the animals always taking the same path, right? Like they have these ridgeways that they run, and the people, when they go and douse those lines, right, when they take their little sticks and their pendulums and stuff, they'll find that there are often energy lines, and the animals are attracted to it and they follow these lines. Just like you often hear about the birds migrating, you know, they fly a certain path because there's an electromagnetic line that they fly because they know, oh, cool, if we stay on this line, we're going to get back to the north, or we're going to go south. Okay, so we were just a lot more in tune with our ability to feel these lines many, many moons ago during the ancient times, right? We're just not that in tune right now, but we're learning to get more in tune and to feel these things. And our dowsing rods and our pendulums do help us to actually feel and like experience these things as well. So in China, we also have what they call the dragon lines there. And that's when, with the feng shui that they used to decide where to place tombs. They still use this, these methods of theirs now to build like buildings, and so it's all aligned, right? It's like literally things are planned based on the dragon lines in that country. And then there's one other one, the Athena and Apollo ley line. Now that one is a little bit lesser known, and I'll make a video about that one as well. But basically, that's the line that runs through the south of Europe, and that's like connected to Athena and Apollo again, the masculine and the feminine energies running together. Okay, so at the moment, there's not much information out there about ley lines. I mean, the UK ley lines are really well known and documented and all of that, but at the moment it feels like in America people are starting to write books about the lines there. There are holy sites and sacred sites that the indigenous people there used to also like navigate and to give thanks and all of that. So all these things are starting to come to the forefront. These energy lines are all over the world. They're just not documented or spoken about anymore. And I do feel like a lot of people now are starting to remember. A lot of people are starting to reconnect with the ancient wisdom. You might be one of them, that like the people bringing up the information again about these energy lines in your country. So, you know, if you have an interest in this stuff, start seeing what ancient sites are in your country, start seeing what is there so that you can start investigating, because it might be that there are lines all around you that you're not even aware of. Because a lot of our ancient sites are being lost because of urbanization and how we're just expanding, you know, our world. And we're losing touch with those beautiful sites that were literally, you know, discovered by the ancients and utilized to reconnect us back to earth and back to like the energy of this planet, and to be in reverence of that as well, to help us to navigate to the other worlds as well. There's so many benefits about like just like working with these energies, like opening up our consciousness. So yeah, so if you are somewhere, start investigating, start looking, start feeling into it. Because there are so many lines that's waiting to be discovered now. And this is a very, very exciting time for all of us. Okay, so I hope that helped. So if you have any questions on ley lines, anything else you want to know, do let me know. And then just ping me a message and I will make sure that I answer it. Great. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to be updated on any more new videos coming up. Thank you, thank you, thank you.